Welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered Thoughts from a Graphic Designer. In this episode, we're going to be talking about if AI is really taking over the design industry, the current state of social media for designers and artists, building a studio to take on much larger projects, and more. Let's get into it. So AI is obviously a super talked about thing these days, good, bad, everything in between. And it seems like most people have a somewhat nuanced stance on it, like I love this, but I could see why all the bad things, or like it's kind of cool for helping with this stuff, but completely generating stuff is kind of whack. And then you have the people who are like, no, kill everything, destroy all software. And then the other people who think AI is the future. I'm so happy I can finally make stuff and this and that. And I don't really know completely where I lie on like that entire spectrum. But one thing I know is I'm generally not the biggest fan of it. And I do agree that it can be helpful as a designer for reducing the mundane tasks, right? Like some kind of content aware fill if you're wanting to extend the border on a design, right? Or using AI to match up your voice to a clip or something when editing a video, or scaling up the resolution of an image, right? Or something that you want to use in a design. Stuff like that is cool, but I think generating entire things and proposing that as a finished product or something that you put out into the world as like a creator or a designer or an artist, to me is a little bit silly. Like, I don't think that typing in something and creating it and having it do it for you has the same value or will ever be as cool as learning a skill, figuring out how to make it, and creating it in the way that only you know how, not having, whatever flavor of the month generation tool make it for you. The argument for that is, it makes stuff faster, or it makes it so anyone can create, and it democratizes creativity and stuff like that. And I don't think that always has to be the case, and everything doesn't always have to be faster, right? And sometimes people like that are really into AI like to say like, well, what's the problem with it? Why wouldn't you want to have something easier or make something for you? Or the question in that self is almost like why they'll never get it, right? The whole point is making the thing. It's cool to have a finished product and something cool and something to share with the world. But most of the joy of making stuff comes within the making it. And the more you do something, the more you realize that that's true. So it's like when they say, why would you not want something to make something for you? Because I like making shit. Like there's no other way to explain it really. And I don't want the computer to have to do everything for me. I love that quote where it's like, I want the computer to do the dishes and fold the laundry so I can spend more time making stuff, not having the computer make stuff for me so I can spend more time doing chores and shit. And one of my favorite things I saw recently, maybe not so recently now because it took me a while to get to recording this episode, but do you guys remember when everyone was doing like the Studio Ghibli stuff? It was everywhere. Like there was basically, finding a super popular style like that Miyazaki art style and applying it to everyday images through when ChatGPT 4 came out. And there was a lot of people who, while that was happening, were coming up with their own styles and stuff, or their own ways to generate stuff, like these proprietary prompts or things that they were typing in. And it was so ironic because those AI designers and artists wanted protection over the ideas that they had that they were generating through the AI. But they're the same people who think it's okay to create stuff that pulls from all these other people's ideas that should have protection. So it was just like, they're so some of these people are just so out of touch and just kind of stupid, to be honest. Like I can't believe that they can't see the irony that they're stealing all these other people's art and design and cool style, but they want protection over their own thing that they create that comes from all that. And we'll see where this whole rabbit hole of AI and generative stuff goes down. Like what I'll say right now, about that is I'm a fan of the stuff that helps you. Like I like ChatGPT for typing in questions and asking it stuff and trying to figure out brainstorming. And this is even for design, just for like a YouTube title, or if I'm trying to see the differences between two cars I want to buy or whatever. I like stuff like that. It's like a better Google search. But I don't see myself ever using AI to generate major parts of a project or like the entire project and present that as something that I made, or even just do it at all. And one of the other things that I saw, this is a lot more recent, was Mr. Beast just created this thumbnail generator thing. How ridiculous that was. This is someone too who in the past got really mad for all these people ripping off his thumbnail style, right? People make a living off of those Mr. Beast style thumbnails. So this isn't the most like type of art, obviously we need to keep sacred, but now he's using this thing where you can just create a thumbnail or steal someone's idea from the YouTube. You just download the image, place it into this generator thing, and you can like swap your face onto it. You could make a bunch of versions based off other people's stuff. And there was no like us signing up to that be allowed to be done. Like, oh, you can use my thumbnails or giving it rights. Like this is just completely scraping the entire YouTube platform and allowing people to create these AI generated thumbnails with everyone else's hard work. And not only does it do that, but it takes away all the jobs from all those people who are thumbnail artists. And it's like, this dude's basically a billionaire and he can't afford to pay people for their thumbnails. He has to create an entire platform that generates them for him. And it's just crazy because he hides all that under the guise of like, this is better for everyone. This is democratizing it. But I don't know. I think the more I see that dude, Mr. Beast, like the more I think he's sus. I used to respect a lot of the things that he did. And now I'm just like, oh, he's just like any of those other people that hide behind this weird sincerity type of thing. And it's like a false philanthropy. Like no one's truly altruistic in that way and like really for the greater good, it seems like, when it comes down to it with these like hyper rich people. What I used to like is he did like hundreds of iterations of thumbnails and really did like a design process on it and hired all these people to create thumbnails for him, shoot photos, create sketches. Like he had an entire production studio for art and design, like kind of like how you iterate and create key art for a movie or a campaign or whatever. And now that's just probably going to go to the wayside for some shitty AI generated slop. While we're here on this AI topic, I actually got a couple questions from all y'all on Instagram, and I wanted to highlight the ones in different sections of this episode, but these ones are about AI, so might as well do them right now. The first one is, what are your thoughts on AI and people saying it will kill graphic design? So I've kind of already touched on that a little bit. I don't think AI is going to kill graphic design or kill art, because it's like a lot of those other advancements we've had. I'm sure that they thought digital art was going to kill analog art. They thought photography was going to kill painting. And I'm not on the side to say that these things aren't bad. I'm not happy about them. I don't like AI. I don't like the path that we're going down with generating art and stuff like that, and generating design. But unfortunately, what I do think it's going to kill is the lower level designers and the lower level artists, and like anyone who doesn't have good taste or stands out in other ways creatively in an industry, I think is at a lot higher risk of being taken advantage of and replaced by AI, unfortunately. However, I do think there will always be a place in the creative industry or design industry for people who are talented, people who are good at creating new ideas and fun stuff. And who knows, maybe everyone will go more into an art director world and we just live in this bullshit place where everything is AI generated. Hopefully not. But if that does happen, I think it is the people who are the better people at design and the people who actually care about it and have taste and have a unique perspective who will excel. But I don't think it'll kill it. I mean, and maybe it takes away jobs and maybe it reduces the income for everyone else. But if someone's passionate about something, if you're good at design and you love it and you continue to want to do it, I don't think that this will change it that much, but we'll see. And the next question was if I use any AI in my creative workflow. Like I said, a couple of the major things I can think of. I use ChatGPT to come up with ideas for YouTube, or not ideas, title ideas for YouTube videos. I use it to compare stuff, like use it as like a logic based like chat thing just to bounce ideas off of it. And then I use the content aware or generative remove tools in Photoshop to remove like blemishes, to remove stuff out of photos that I want, to extend borders on things, stuff like that. That's really it though. I don't really use much of it. And then besides the AI that's just built into stuff like autocorrect and this and that, but I don't use it to like generate images or, you know, textures or for mood boarding or anything like that. So whether AI takes over the world or not, what you will need always, I think, as a designer is a website. So I'm happy to announce that this episode of Unfiltered Thoughts from a Designer is kindly sponsored by Framer. If you don't know what Framer is, it's this amazing website platform that's great for designers who want to make any kind of website, your own portfolio, a website for a startup or a new company that you want to make, or even a website for your new design studio like the one I made for my studio, Questa. I would never recommend a product to you all that I don't genuinely use and stand by, and Framer is definitely one of those companies. I use it, like I said, for my own website, and I just think it is really one of the best website design tools out there. They have so many amazing templates that allow for a bunch of customization, and they have a very easy to use interface, and if you're familiar with other design programs, you should be able to hop into it very easily. And I had a great time making my own studio website, and I was pretty stoked with how everything turned out. It looked great on both desktop and mobile, and it was a great way to create a good studio website to showcase my work to new clients. So if you've been putting off redesigning your new portfolio or want to make a website for that idea you had, this is your sign. So go ahead and check out Framer, and you can use the link in my description to sign up today. Thank you to Framer for sponsoring this video. Enough of the AI mumbo jumbo for now. I really wanted to also talk about kind of the current state and reality of Instagram these days for visual artists and designers, mostly people who work like statically too. I think Instagram has become arguably the best platform besides TikTok for finding a new audience and finding clients and exposure and stuff like that. If you're doing short form video, that's kind of the caveat. Unfortunately, it seems like videos have a way higher just baseline of engagement and reach, and something that really helps grow the pages. Like when I have a reel blow up, it uplifts all the other static content and design posts that I really want people to see. So I think a good way to think about it is not, oh, I want to make that content because I want that to be popular and I want that to be cool and people to see that. But it helps showcase your actual design work, as long as the videos kind of work cohesively with that. Because you can fall into the trap of just being someone who only teaches stuff, right? And everything's just reels on like how to do this, 3 tips, Illustrator, or whatever. But the weird thing is the static stuff, I have posts do really well still, right? If I just had this Shed title fight post that did really well because people love that band. It has a cult following, and I think they just resonated with the cassette kind of nostalgic style redesign. However, that was what, like 7K or something likes. I've had posts this same week. I did something for my studio, 800, right? So like the baseline, I think, is a lot lower for static design work. And what realization I've kind of come to is it's like when artists release albums or you post a YouTube video, really, like those are 2 completely different things, but everything can't get the same amount of engagement and views. And when you kind of relinquish that control and expectation, it makes creating the actual fun stuff that you want to do a lot more rewarding and less threatening to your ego or whatever engagement you think you should be getting. And you never know, that post that bombed, right? Like likes wise or whatever, could be saved by someone who's going to hire you later for a future project. Like when I worked on that big hardcore alphabet series, I talked about this recently. It didn't feel like it transpired into much real client work. I created 26 different cover arts to showcase my skills, and I wasn't really getting hired that much for more album artwork. But this last couple months, I've been getting hit up a bunch for it. And so who knows? There's a world where they were seeing that stuff and then they just saved it for a future date so that they could later hire me. Because just because you're advertising online doesn't mean people are ready to buy stuff right in that moment or hire you right in that moment. So sometimes it's just patience is key and being consistent. I think that light just flickered, right? Anyway, one good idea too is when I talk about this stuff, like creating personal work and putting it out into the world, creating a series, stuff like that, a lot of people ask me, what should I create? What should I make stuff about? And obviously one thing is an interest you have, just combine that with design, skateboarding, music, fine art, theater, movies, whatever, or redesign stuff that you think's popular. And it's getting a little bit played out, even though I do a lot myself. But yeah, one thing that you can do that can feel a little bit more maybe unique to you and is not a redesign, but still gives you some substance and some ideas to start doing. So you can have the idea and focus more on how you want to convey it conceptually, is making playlist art. That's always been one of my favorite ideas for personal work because I like working within music stuff. So I like designing in that square form factor, that cover art, single cover art, vinyl, record packaging, stuff like that. I'm sure you all have playlists that you make on Spotify, right? That you listen to while you're designing. Make it super meta. Make a playlist, listen to it while you're designing, and create a cover for it in Photoshop or Illustrator or whatever. And I think that's a really good way to come up with fun new ideas, and especially if you want to work in any type of music industry, practice working in that style and form factor. I've done a bunch of different playlist arts. I've done one for like different types of genres I like, just random ideas that I'll have pop into my head like that, for a new mix or a certain type of music that I want to categorize, just, the obvious stuff. Or you can make playlists that you want to put out into the public for other people to listen to, whatever it is. But I think it's a good idea if you're having trouble coming up with ideas for personal work or art as a designer. And then you just put that out into the world and use that as to attract the different people that you want to be around and you want to work with. And speaking of that, one of the craziest things that I think that has been like a butterfly effect like that and just putting stuff out into the world and creating new stuff was working with the Creator Camp people. So I have been to multiple of their events and worked with them as a designer and as a content creator and all that kind of stuff. If you don't know what that is, they're just this company who gets together all these super cool creators, and they go to different trips, or they do in a film festival now, or work on projects together, stuff like that. And I've done a lot of collaboration with other designers and other more like static visual artists, like a photographer or a illustrator, stuff like that. That's more obvious. But after hanging out around with all these other different artists and creators, it's crazy how important it is, I've realized, to collaborate with other types of artists, especially as a designer. I've worked now with directors, people who do photography, people who do painting, stuff like that. Like, it's really cool, I think, to mix skills and work on stuff. And the butterfly effect from being in that community has been absolutely insane. Like, it's allowed me to work on a movie poster for like a feature film that got played at an indie film festival by my friend Baron, which was super cool. It's allowed me to meet all these other just really dope creators, and collaborating with other people has just increased my skills a lot as a designer and helped me kind of learn how to work within a bunch of different types of things. I think when we get interested in a certain niche or type of thing as a designer, like logo design, album art, posters, it's easy for us to always want to work in that style and always fall back to that kind of safety net or comfort zone. But branching out and working on new different things is super helpful and will really grow your skills as a designer, because I know it's done mine. Recording these long videos in the summer is a different beast because I got to turn the AC off so the audio sounds good for y'all. What I've also been working on recently is trying to work on larger design projects through my studio. I feel like I, for a while, was falling into this habit of creating really quick to consume and quick to forget one-off design projects where I make something in one day, you know, like a simple poster design, a simple graphic. And I still like doing stuff like that, but it feels a lot better to be able to work on giant, larger things and get to work on something consistently, like every day or every other day, that builds into a bigger project. Even if it is just a bunch of those other little pieces that come together to create something new, it's cool to work on something larger and bigger than yourself and not just, I guess, almost in a way, something that's not something that's so easy. And what I really want to do, though, with Questa Studio, hopefully, since I have such an insane network of people I know now, both from meeting people in the design industry, doing stuff online, like content creation, meeting all these creators and that other artist community through that creator stuff. I have the privilege of this giant network of talented artists, designers, photographers, directors, animators, and so on. I would love to pitch to clients when they come to me for design work or to me through my studio with these bigger projects that I normally couldn't take on because all I really could do is design. I'd love to have a web designer, an artist, a painter, a director, producer, animator, so we can do giant, larger campaign projects or big art direction stuff, or work on an entire brand identity that isn't just the brand, the guidelines, and the logo, right? It's everything else built out and something. And not, you know, I don't want to hire like full-time employees or anything like that because I think this work comes and goes and it's very spread out from time to time. But it'd be cool just in general to have like people like that to tap into. And I think it can be done. It's just about organizing all that, working with freelancers. I know that can be tricky, especially working with friends and stuff, but I really do want to build out that network. So if you have certain skills in something, feel free to reach out to me if you think that you can offer something. I'm not looking for many designers who do stuff similar to me because I'd probably handle that stuff as like the creative director of a project, but I am looking for people who can illustrate, photographers, web designers, animation people, and motion design would be cool. Just stuff like that. What I want to get into now, that was most of the things that I had kind of written down. I can only talk about so much shit, right, in the design world, but there was some questions I had, some more from the community that I wanted to get to that weren't AI related, like I was saying earlier. So this first one is, how do you make ends meet while doing experimental designs? And if what I think they mean by this is, how do you get enough money to survive as a designer when a lot of your work is more like avant-garde or stuff that maybe doesn't pay as much but is more creative? I'll tell you 3 ways. One, ideally, is your experimental style is just so cool that big brands and people really want to hire you and other people can't really replicate that. So you get to dictate the price and you get to just charge enough to make a living completely off of that niche. If that isn't the reality for people, which it usually isn't for most, that's like the very elite group of design and art artists. Then another option is you take on the more boring corporate stuff, the bigger brand stuff, to help subsidize your more passion projects and more fun experimental clients so you can enjoy that. When I was working just as a freelancer and didn't do content, a lot of my like cash cow type clients were big brand identity stuff for tech, corporate stuff like offices, things like that. A lot of it is fun. A lot of it is boring, but anything that is usually pretty boring, but a big deal, or a company that has a lot of money can pay well. And, you know, charge more for that stuff so you can subsidize it to take on the more fun stuff. And then a third option, which I'm in the lucky position to do these days, is generate some revenue from doing content and brand deals and stuff. That way I don't have to take on as many projects that I don't enjoy just for the money. I can do some brand deals here and there and stuff like that. How do you get into the industry and get a job after college? That is definitely a tricky one. And I applied to over 150 jobs when I graduated from CSU Chico, and I eventually got some internships, got a couple jobs, worked in the industry as a brand designer for a while, as a junior art director and designer at a place I did movie posters, also worked for an architect firm, a bunch of different stuff. What I think it's all about is getting on LinkedIn, honestly, really helps a lot. Every day in the summer after you graduate, making a giant spreadsheet of all the jobs you want to apply to and keep track of all the ones you do. Just write good cover letters, be genuine, have a good portfolio, and I think the jobs will come. Like it'll take a while, but don't get discouraged. And every time you get a small win, use that as the fuel and momentum to keep pushing and keep going. And make sure you write down all the jobs you applied to and all the people you talked to and keep track of that. Because I've sent an email to the same company twice thinking I hadn't applied there before. And that's pretty embarrassing. And try your best not to use like templated emails and cover letters because people can read right through that. Be unique and talk about very specific stuff when you're talking to each different company. How to not get personal life in the way of creating. Sometimes it just will. And that's okay. When you got to lock in and get shit done and something bad's going on in your life, sometimes that's inevitable and you just have to try your best to put it to the side or use it as fuel to create something even cooler than you ever would have been when you were content. So it's hard to make content stuff when you're content. Sometimes the best creative fuel comes from the darkest places. Even if the style of the design and art isn't that dark, that can still be true. And sometimes, if the personal life does get too much in the way of creating, that's also fine. It's okay to take a break and it's okay to be a human and not have to be a robot and always work on stuff 24/7. And if a client is a good person too, they would understand that. And if this is just for personal work, it's okay to take a break. It'll be there tomorrow, next day, next month. As long as it doesn't derail you forever, just trust your body and your mind and do what's best for you. A couple more thoughts on gatekeeping. I think gatekeeping is in a weird state right now, especially for design. I think it's wrong to gatekeep stuff that isn't that important, right? Like people won't tell people what font they used or, gatekeeping resources or jobs from different communities and stuff. That stuff is really bad, right? But I also think we've gone too far in like people think that people that they look up to or want to learn from owe them everything. Like just because you ask someone a question and they don't answer you doesn't mean they're gatekeeping. Or if someone doesn't help you and show you exactly how they created something themselves, that isn't gatekeeping. That's just protecting their own peace. And like some of the best techniques and way I develop my style is seeing something I like and trying to recreate it and learning myself. And sometimes you don't get exactly to how they did the thing, but you learn these new things and you learn to do it your way and develop your own style. And I think that is a way better gift than that anyone can give you, is just that inspiration rather than showing you a tutorial or breakdown of exactly how to do something. And I love this last question. Do you need to be good at drawing to be a successful graphic designer? If you think I'm a successful graphic designer, then no. Who knows if I am or not? I think I'm doing okay, but you don't. Being good at drawing is sick. I would love to be really good at illustrating, but it would take me a long time to get really good to the level of where I'd want to incorporate it in my professional work now. So maybe someday. But I've never been very good at drawing, and I also didn't nurture that skill though. You can definitely learn and get better. There's people who are naturally more talented, but that doesn't matter. You can get better at anything. But I just lean more into layout and typography and stuff like that because it was the things I already felt pretty good and confident in and gravitated towards, to continue to grow those skills to make them better and better instead of trying to lift up a lower skill just to end up being still kind of subpar. If you're good at drawing and you can incorporate that in your design work and still be really good in the other aspects of design, that's cool. If you're not, learn how to become better at it. That could be cool. Or just don't, and you should be all right as well. It's not a mandatory thing, but it can always help. I guess that's the basic answer. But yeah, I love, I always, when I do these types of episodes, I write down stuff in my notes app, right, that I want to talk about, because this is the more free form, type of video that I do on this channel for a bunch of stuff I want to chat about that doesn't fit in one singular video. But I also like asking people what they want to hear about. So feel free to drop that in the comments below for the next stuff. Maybe I'll answer a question or talk about a topic, or we can react to something going on in the design world. But that's pretty much it for now. And thank you again so much to Framer for sponsoring this episode. And if you want to learn more about that, check out the link in the description below and go and stop procrastinating and make that new portfolio or make that new website for that cool idea you had. Yeah, that's it for now. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this in the future. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.